All right, everyone. Look, we got to go into this story today because I need to, basically put out a PSA. I need to let people know that, hey, you guys, there are consoles getting bricked. And okay, let's rewind a little bit. No. Switch 2s aren't being bricked; they're being banned. And we're now getting multiple reports of Switch 2 being banned because people are doing something with their Switch 2. Nintendo clearly doesn't want you to do it. No, we're not talking about hacking the system. Obviously, if you're trying to do that and you connect to Nintendo's online servers, yeah, you're probably going to get your system banned, if not bricked, according to their license agreement, at least here in the US. No, systems are being banned for different reasons. And that reason could be something that's affecting legit consumers. And that's why we need to talk about this, because there are legit consumers who might have been doing a certain thing in order to help consolidate their physical library in a legal way that Nintendo is, well, getting mad about. Before we dive in, I'll just remind you, we're giving away 5 copies of Donkey Kong Bonanza, as you see him playing behind me. To enter, all you have to do is go down in the link in the pinned comment or the description. And let's get into this. Where I first saw this is by the user who originally did the initial hack on Switch 2. This person did a hack showing that they could get, something running on the system, but it wasn't a useful hack that actually led to anything major, because nothing's come of it, right? Like no one's gained access or root access to the system or been able to put home root, or like basically nothing's really happened since that hack. But there's another device out there people have been using a lot that we talked about and we even warned about and covered in the past. And we're talking, of course, about the MIG switch. The MIG switch has a few components to it. There's the part that connects it to the PC. There's the actual cart itself that you put a micro SD card in. And then there's the dumper, which is where you stick a physical Switch game in to dump the game to your PC. And then you can put it onto your micro SD, your cartridge, your MIG switch cartridge, and then use it in your Switch 1. Now, people have showed in the past, including Spawnwave, that this didn't really work in Switch 2. You can get it to recognize eventually multiple games and put it in and out really fast, but it didn't work. And the people behind MIG switch said they were working on an update. Well, they released that update last Friday, and version 1.2, I believe, is what it's called. Don't quote me on this. I'm not an expert on this field. And it allowed Switch 1 games to be played on your Switch 2. Look, people can use this device for nefarious reasons. You could just load it up with a bunch of pirated games, or you could use it for legal reasons, which is you could dump your own games and put it on there. That's actually completely legal, but it doesn't mean it's legal to do that and connect to online servers, and that is what everyone is finding out this weekend with multiple reports. Should have been pretty obvious, but then again, you weren't getting banned for this on Switch 1 because Nintendo had no way to detect the MIG switch on Switch 1. That is not the case on Switch 2. So, Switch Tools here says, my Switch 2 test has been banned after using the MIG switch with a perfectly legal dump of my own cartridges. So it would seem that Nintendo can detect something. Similar reports are on Reddit and are starting to come in. I strongly recommend that you do not use the MIG switch. It was already very risky to use it, but even more so on Switch 2. And you can see his error code here taken with his cell phone. The use of online services on this console is currently restricted by Nintendo. Now, his account has not been banned. His system itself is not bricked. Nintendo didn't do the thing everyone was afraid of, that they would brick your system. They didn't do that, but they did indeed ban that system. So that system, if he ever sells it to anyone else, it literally will never be able to use the internet services of Nintendo. Now, if it ever gets hacked one day, it still could be a useful system if they find a way to hack into it, and then you can connect to the internet through other means, but you just can't use Nintendo services. And there's multiple reports. So like any story like this, you have to have double, triple, quadruple confirmation, or it's just a one-off story. Well, here we have on the R Switch 2 Hacks subreddit saying MIG switch flash ban. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know to refrain from using their MIG flash on the Switch 2 online for now. My Switch 2 was just banned. My account is fine for now. Only games I had were backed up games. Must be some new detection Nintendo has on those MIG switches. Pretty dumb of me to go online with it. That's on me. My Switch 2 was banned, but my main Nintendo account is not banned. But I wouldn't hold my breath just waiting at this point for Nintendo to drop the ban hammer on my account, which yeah, I think that's a reasonable expectation that your account's going to get banned. And the other report we have on this was actually deleted. This person was being really dumb on the Nintendo Switch 2 subreddit. They tried to act like they did nothing wrong and they don't know why their Switch 2 got banned. And it turned out they were using the dang MIG switch. So yeah, Nintendo can detect it. So here it is. I'm not avoiding this answer. Plus, it'll be good for the community to know about this. This is the person who posted it. I have 2 Nintendo Switch 1s and now a banned Switch 2. First Switch 1 is versus a jiggable console. I keep this offline. That means he hacked his system, and it's not signed into any account. Switch 1 is an OLED. I rarely play it online, and I have a MIG switch with my own backups on it. I've been using it for ages, and I've never been banned. Nintendo Switch 2 is completely clean. I never tried to hack it, and I wouldn't even know how. The hacking community haven't released anything. The only thing I can think of is what happens is I tried my MIG switch on my Nintendo Switch 2 once. It didn't work. It just showed the game title and refused to load. I tried to download a title update for it, and that was it. Maybe it downloaded a flag for the console to be banned. This was over a week ago this happened though, and I've been playing with a legitimate cartridge ever since. FYI for the mods, I don't pirate games. I back up my legitimate copies I own on cartridges. Piracy is shit. I work in software development. You can see all the negative votes on it because basically the guy had to I don't know why my system's banned. And yeah, if you guys don't think Nintendo owns the MIG switch 2, the dumper and everything involving this device, and it's a flash cart, yeah, they own it. And Nintendo does have the legal right to ban your system, your account, whatever, if you use a flash cart while connecting to their online services. The reason they have this in is consumer protection. I know we could talk about how, hey, I'm just legitimately backing up my games and I just want to simplify it and not carry around so much cartridges. And I understand that use case, and I'm not even against that use case. But what I will say is they can't guarantee those files haven't been modified in any way, and thus you can end up maybe getting unintended access or intended access in some cases to aspects of Nintendo servers they don't want you to, or lead to you cheating in games like Splatoon. So yeah, Nintendo's going to take this stuff very seriously. And while they didn't brick the console, you could still use these Switch 2s in offline mode. So I guess technically, if you don't care about ever using Nintendo's online services, I guess you just have an offline Switch 2, but then just never connected to the internet or connected to their services and use the MIG switch anyways. Point is, I just wanted to warn people because Switch 1s were never getting banned over this, but that's because Nintendo had no way to detect it. I know they tried updating their software and other things. They just had no way to really detect it. Maybe they needed a hardware, firmware, some sort of detection method built in. Whatever the case is, Nintendo did consider the MIG switch, which is probably why the MIG switch wasn't working before. And even after the update came out that made it work, Nintendo doesn't care, because they already had the thing. They probably already reverse engineered it and found ways to put in detection things when you connect to their online services, especially, but also even maybe when they just see it in your Switch. That's why it wasn't working before. So even though the update makes it work, when you go online, Nintendo can detect that it is a MIG switch. And yeah, they're going to ban your console. Now, are they going to ban the accounts as well? I don't know. Maybe Nintendo won't go that far. It wouldn't be shocking if they did, but maybe they won't go that far because they can't confirm that you using a MIG switch means that you are not a legitimate consumer that actually buys their games. But don't be surprised if they decide to go that route. They legally can go that route if they want. They are not bricking your system though. So that is one thing to keep in mind, is that the story I've seen spread, like the first time someone messaged to me, oh my God, Nintendo's bricking systems. It's true. All the stories were true. They can. Well, they could, but they're not. And in Europe, they can't. For cases like this, they literally cannot brick your system. So this is just something to keep in mind, that there's a little fear mongering around this story, but also there's legitimate concern. Like, don't use your MIG switch on Switch 2 if you have one. I'm just saying, look, a lot of you use it for proper reasons and you didn't pirate, but it is a device that is commonly used to play pirated games on Switch 1. It's just a fact. It is commonly used that way, and Nintendo knows that. And while the flash cart's not illegal, and that's why you can buy it, it is against the terms of service to use it and connect to Nintendo's online services. So you kind of get what you pay for. And I got to say, I do get a little laugh at this guy who tried to pretend like, I have absolutely no idea what I did. I didn't do anything. Oh, actually, I put in a device that Nintendo doesn't like that's commonly used in piracy. Stupid is as stupid does sometimes, and you can't realize that maybe you did mess up after all. Anyways, folks, I just wanted to put this little PSA out there because I think this is really important for the community of legit consumers. And I guess it's a warning to pirates. I don't care about the pirates out there, but it's at least a warning to legit consumers that were maybe using this as a method to consolidate their library, that, hey, don't even let the thing touch your Switch 2. Should have been obvious to begin with, but if it wasn't, now it definitely should be. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you guys in the next video or live stream later tonight.